To order. If we please stand for the flag salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with justice, liberty, and justice for all. That's a little tricky with everybody doing it at once. Okay, first up, we have roll call.
Councillor Grizzle.
Here.
Councillor Rees-Camp.
Here.
Councillor Steinhebel.
Here.
Councillor Bolin.
Here.
Councillor Furlow.
Here.
And Councillor Stouter.
Here.
Thank you. And we have the consent calendar. We have the agenda for tonight. We have the amended STP 2020 fund exchange. We have the renewal of agreement with Lebanon School District for outdoor maintenance, the board minutes for the Library Advisory Committee meeting, council minutes of October 14th regular session, and an easement for Mill Street public utility easement.
Move for approval.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to approve the consent calendar. All those in favor say aye.
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 Those opposed? Okay, the consent calendar is passed. And to our clerk, do we have any public comments we received?
No comments were received.
Thank you. And that will get us into our regular session, intergovernmental agreement with the state of Oregon for disposal of surplus property. Matt Apkin.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council. Part of our city charter allows for us to dispose of surplus property. That surplus property is, can you hear me all right, Rebecca? We couldn't tell. Okay. Part of that surplus property is, excuse me, part of the ordinance or the code that talks about the surplus property gives the city manager the authority to kind of pick which method that we use. I think there's 5 or 6 methods listed within the code of how we can sell this different surplus property. Oh, sorry, I'm looking at the wrong thing. Yes, so my apologies. One more thing and then I believe I'm where I'm expecting the words to be at, sorry. Okay, so we can do auctions, we can do bids, we can do liquidation sales, we can do trade-ins. One of the methods that isn't specifically stated but would kind of fall between auctions and bids and liquidation sales would be to use the state's surplus program. So what they'll do is they'll take our vehicles and then they can turn around and put them at auction, put them on their website to sell to other agencies. Some can be sold to the public, depends on what it's for. Part of what is appealing to this is it lets us not go through the administrative process of trying to sell some of these vehicles. When we only have 1 or 2 vehicles to sell at a time, it doesn't make sense to put a lot of effort into doing an auction or doing a liquidation sale. And so we would like to enter into an intergovernmental agreement, which the state requires for us to be able to use the state surplus program to sell vehicles. I think that's the gist of it. Does anyone have any questions?
How many miles does the vehicle have on it?
The vehicle that we're looking at getting rid of is a transit bus that we've had since, I believe, 2009 or so. So I don't know specifically how many miles are on it, but I know it's past its useful life. It's actually been replaced by a new vehicle, so it's literally just sitting at the maintenance shops at this point.
No, sending it to an auction where somebody who sends a lot of things to auction or does that maybe not full-time or for a living, but it's so much better to let the state handle that. I like doing it this way.
We've always done it the other way. Not always. We have had an auction before.
We had an auction, I think 2 years ago.
Yeah.
We were charged 20% of the sales price as the commission to sell it. I don't think the states is that high. I think it's 13 to 17%. I don't know that we'd really see that much different in price coming back between one or the other. So really, it removes a lot of the administrative expense that goes into doing some of that stuff as well.
Yeah, I think this is a smart move just to get us out of this business and let somebody, this is what they do for a full-time job and let them handle it.
I agree.
Okay, entertain a motion at this point. No more questions.
So moved.
I moved. Okay, there you go. I'll second it.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the intergovernmental agency agreement with the state of Oregon for disposal of surplus property. All those in favor say aye.
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 Those opposed? Motion passes. Next up, Matt Apkin again, granting exclusive franchise agreement with Republic Services.
So council, mayor and council, as you know, we've been working with the Republic Services. We've gone back and forth between some of the issues that we've had, some of the price rate increases that we've had. Ron and I actually did a lot of work with them, and Trey, we went and we spoke with them, and they came back and made us feel very confident with the rate increases that we're getting, that they're very reasonable considering the circumstances. And so we then went to work on trying to work on kind of updating some of the language within the franchise agreement that would kind of put a cap on when they could do a rate increase. And so we were able to talk with them and get them to agree to a margin on revenue not to exceed 12% for them to do a increase in rates. I think I saw Rebecca's eyes get a little bit big. 12% is kind of the average in the industry throughout the state of Oregon. That's kind of where that number came from. And then in addition to that, last year we talked to you guys about possibly increasing the franchise fee. We actually had talked to Republic Services. They had said, you know, Albany and Albany and Millersburg had both increased their franchise fee from the 6 to the 7%. And they said, you know, really that'll make it easy because then you guys will all have the same franchise fee. COVID happened. We didn't end up doing anything with it, and it's taken a long time to get back to this agreement and get it fixed to the point where we can go forward with that if you guys so choose. So we've put together what it would be if we increase the franchise fee to 7%. We've also put it together to where if we leave the franchise fee at 6%. The average monthly difference for a 20 or a 32-gallon cart would be 24 cents a month. For a 90-gallon cart, it would be 36 cents a month difference, and $1.61 for a 2-yard dumpster. It's kind of the long and the short of it. So I guess I'd love for you guys to discuss it and tell us where you'd like us to move with it.
Okay, questions, discussion?
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
we were getting some feedback. It looks like it was Councilor Furlow. So, Councilor Furlow, I've unmuted you now, so you can speak if needed.
I just
Okay.
got a reminder to unmute *6.
Okay, thanks, Brent. Discussion?
I like the agreement, and I like the increasing the option where we increase the franchise agreement to 7%, to be equitable with the communities around us. So I think it's a reasonable proposal, but I think that's the one that we go with.
And I also,
Agree.
I agree with that. And I also thank the staff, you guys, for working with them on this, because I know we've had a lot of other difficulties and trying to get some of those things ironed out. And they seem to have been doing better, and I haven't had complaints from the community. Cans are being put back in the right place. It just seems like the service is a bit better. Even their website has gotten tremendously better. Paying your bill, all those things are quite a bit better. So I feel a lot more confident now than I did a year ago. So
Yeah, things have looked much better on our streets over on the south end of town.
any other comments?
I
Okay,
move for approval.
I'll have to have the city attorney read
Oh,
the
he's
ordinance
got
bill,
it.
please.
And I assume we're doing the version that has the fee increase?
Yes.
Yes,
Ordinance bill number 2020-15, ordinance number 2955, a bill for an ordinance granting exclusive solid waste franchise to Republic Services and fixing terms, conditions, and compensation for such franchise and repealing ordinance number 2015-04, ordinance number 2860.
I move for approval.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve ordinance bill number 2020-15. All those in favor say aye.
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 Those opposed? Okay, the ordinance is passed. Now the next one, Matt, is repealing resolution 2019-28 and approving public services rate increases. Now, do we go to that still? Even though the
Do.
first one? Okay,
Yeah, so there were two of this one as well. There was one if you chose to do the franchise increase or franchise fee increase, and one if you didn't. So,
okay.
So every year we've come back to council to ask for their approval of the CPI increase for Republic Services. Republic Services this year came forward and said, hey, we don't need a CPI increase. It came back, I believe, at 0.3% of an increase, and they said, you know what, we can take care of that. They said, if you guys do want to increase the franchise fee, we will do the increase of that 1% just to cover that franchise fee. And so that's what I'm bringing you tonight, is an increase of 1% of the rate for the franchise fee, going from 6% to 7%. Happy to answer any questions. And Julie Jackson is here as well, if you have any questions for her.
Hi, Julie. Any questions, discussion?
I don't have any questions, but I just, again, want to thank you for working with our staff and coming up with a good plan for our folks here in Lebanon.
I did have one more thing to add. The one other thing we are asking for is to add a new rate to the rate sheet, and that is for contamination on recycling and yard debris. This is actually something that we worked with Ron and Matt on over the summer to figure out what a good process would be. And they were concerned that they didn't want us leaving tags on carts so that everybody knew. And we thought that was a fair assessment. And so they helped us come up with this process. So we will actually, if a driver sees contamination, and I want to explain what that is. We're seeing bags of garbage in the recycling and yard debris because there's so much more trash being made at home right now. So that's the contamination we're talking about. We're not talking about a yogurt tub or any of those kinds of things. If they see a bag of trash going into the hopper, because they have a camera, and they will attempt to take a picture of that as they can, they will then use a system. We have a direct connect system, and call the dispatcher and say, hey, this address had a bag of trash in the recycling. Then we will then mail them a postcard. So that person will get a postcard mailed, and it will say, hey, we noticed there's a bag of trash in your recycling or yard debris. This is your warning. If it happens again, we'll charge you a contamination fee. So we're hoping, honestly, the best case scenario would be if nobody ever gets charged that fee.
I noticed that, Julie, and I thought it was a great idea, and I appreciate the fact that you guys are willing to, because that's work and expense on your part to go through warning instead of just
It's
just
there though.
sending them a fee right from the start, which really, I mean, honestly, it could happen that somebody does that accidentally, I suppose,
Sure.
but you can't have a lot of that and still have a viable program on your end. So I appreciate that process. I like it.
And we just really appreciate Matt and Ron because they gave us a lot of good suggestions that really helped develop a program that we're doing everywhere in Albany and Corvallis and Millersburg, all over the place, because we just thought it was a good system.
Okay. Julie, did you hear the comments that I was making about you guys before you got on?
I did, and I appreciate you making those comments, Mayor.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure that you knew that I've noticed the change, and it's positive.
We really appreciate hearing that. And, I want you to know, when you guys came to us and said, we're not happy, we listened. And, I'm happy with the changes too. It makes life better for us as well. So we're glad to do that. We want to keep that line of communication open. We want to hear from you, good or bad.
And in addition, the website is so much better when you're going to pay the bill, and you actually have now the days that the certain carts and things are supposed to be out there for me.
Yeah, I have a young man working for me named Dino Barreras, and he's our recycling education and outreach coordinator, which he started right before. So his outreach has been updating websites and making some really great changes. And I couldn't be happier to have him and have the changes. So, and then stay tuned, because in less than a month, you'll be getting that flyer again that has all of the calendar for the year. It has what goes in the recycling. It's about 8 pages, and an updated version will be coming out for 2021 in the first part of December.
Very good.
He did a great presentation for the chamber for our leadership program. So I'm just going to throw that out there, but it was really interesting.
Lucky to have him.
Yeah.
So did I hear you say that this is also happening in Albany and Corvallis as far as the contamination? Okay.
It is. We're seeing about 30 to 40% more waste residentially, and we know some of that's contamination. So yeah, we're just rolling it out all over the place.
Julie, this Trey Kennedy, just out of curiosity, I know that it's not unusual for people to take advantage of driving down the street and dumping something in somebody else's not as full receptacle. How do you guys deal with that?
Well, those are kind of a one-by-one case. But when somebody calls us and says, hey, I'm really careful about this and I didn't put that in, we're going to believe them the first time. Obviously, now on the third or fourth time, we might think, but those are things we deal with now. And I have had some counselors in other locations say, well, what if I put in a pizza box by accident? We're not looking for pizza boxes. Really, the driver can see a bag of trash. And if there's someone who is on a really regular basis having a bag of trash put in their recycling, then we want to know about that too, because we need to kind of figure it out. Oftentimes, this probably won't surprise. Is anybody from the police department on? Yes, this won't surprise you, but people aren't very careful what they put in. So oftentimes a bag of trash has their name in it. So, we have ferreted that out a couple of times, but really doesn't happen a lot. So we'll work with it.
I'm thinking about doing a test on this. I do know Rebecca has her address listed, so we may see how this works out.
Okay, I'm going to be checking with you guys.
Any other comments or questions? Okay, seeing none, I'll have the city attorney read the ordinance bill. I'm sorry, resolution on this one.
Resolution number 2020-21, a resolution repealing resolution number 2019-28 and approving Republic Services rate increases.
Move for approval.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve resolution 2020-21. All those in favor say aye.
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 Those opposed? All right, the ordinance or the resolution passes. And number 4, thank you, Julie.
Thank you, Julie.
Number 4, accepting grant and increasing budget appropriations. And guess who's up? Matt Apkin.
Hello, hopefully for the final time tonight, unless something weird comes up. As you guys know, the city was allocated some coronavirus relief funds. We call them CRF funds. Part of what we want to do tonight is, as we, I guess, kind of applied for that grant, we have been given that grant, and now we want to accept it and appropriate some of those funds that we're going to receive so that we can really fulfill what we need to do with the funds that we're receiving. The primary places that we're going to see funds needed at this point are in the general fund. We're working to start a utility assistance program. We've been working with Central Willamette Credit Union to do that. We're going to do that with $100,000. So we want to make sure we get that appropriated before we move forward. We're planning on starting that Monday. And then in addition to that, we've got some various other miscellaneous expenses between masks and additional cleaning supplies. We've put wash stations at various parks and some other things like that that we want to make sure that we have the funding in place to get through the remainder of the fiscal year with that. In addition, there's been a huge call to telework. And so Brent and his staff have been hard at work making it possible for the rest of city staff to telework when possible, which is why I'm sitting in my house right now. And overall, it's just been phenomenal what they've done. But as you can imagine, buying laptops and buying stuff just to make it possible has been quite expensive. And so we want to put $100,000 back into their fund to kind of reimburse for what we've spent pretty much to this point. And there's enough to get through the end of the year with that as well. So really that's what this next resolution is about, is to accept the grant and then to appropriate so we can move forward. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Comments, questions?
So what does first, thank you for putting this together. I'm really glad that we have this grant opportunity available for not just the employees, but also this program for the utility assistance. How is that program? What does that kind of look like? I guess you're probably in the early stages of just putting that together, or can you just kind of give me a high level overview of what that's going to look like?
Sure. So the high level overview, we have a requirement on all coronavirus relief funds to expend them only if there is a COVID related purpose. And so what we've kind of created is said, okay, we've got this funds. We are going to allow people to apply to receive a grant up to $1,000 from the city that can be used to pay for their city utilities, their electric utilities, their gas utilities. And so with that, they have to show proof that in some way they have been affected by the COVID-19. That can be through a layoff notice, a furlough notice. They could show unemployment stubs. They could show that their profession, their license or certification was one of those groups that the governor's specific executive order said, hey, you guys can't work during this point. So we went back and forth with Central Willamette Credit Union in discussing this, and it was, we were trying to find the best way to cover our bases, because if we don't show the correct information, the state could come back and request the money back from us. And so we wanted to make sure that we're making sure that we've got our proof of what we need to have to get the money as a grant, to then pass it through as a grant as well.
So I have a question.
Yep.
And I don't know how critical this is, but let's say if I did not work for the month of June, I didn't work for the month of July, my business was closed, but I went back to work in August, and I was made whole through unemployment in September, let's say, and maybe I got that extra $600. So I made more than I would have made, but I can still apply to have my utilities paid, even though do you see where I'm going with that?
Yes, and I can tell you, we had a lot of discussion about this, and how do you put in the right parameters that stop the people that probably really don't need the help, but just are trying to get it because it's free money, and then those that really need it, and how do you get that clear distinction between the two?
Okay.
We've kind of done the best we can. We can send out there's a link that Central Willamette's going to have people go to that has the application online. So we can send that to you. It'll go through the details. And if I remember it correctly as well, sorry, I'm just pulling it up one more time so I can make sure I give you the correct information. Sorry about this. So I want to make sure I get you the correct wording that we ended with. Okay, so part of it is they have to have currently outstanding bills. So it can't be, hey, I had bills in the past that were, later past due, but I caught up on them. Can I now get this to go back and pay those? We said you have to have a current past due or a current bill that shows a previous balance on it. There's a limit per household. It has to be an account holder who currently resides at the service address, and a person that was adversely affected by the pandemic in one of the following ways: layoff or furlough notice dated after March 8th, 2020, existing open unemployment claim, or a certificate license for a profession specifically.
So okay. And I'm not saying we shouldn't do that. My question is, we have a significant population, or we at least have a population that is not only made whole, but better than whole. That I just didn't know if that it applied to them. And then my other question is, so we have a pot of money, and if we don't find enough people that fit into this program, which has happened with a lot of coronavirus programs, and then you have this pot of money sitting over here, does that just go back to the state at some point?
So there are various requirements. I can let you know that the city has eligible expense to spend all of the coronavirus money that we've received.
Okay.
One of the ways that they have specifically came out and said you can spend it is through funding public safety officers. And so we could turn around and say, well, we had police working the whole time. We're allowed to use that and we're kind of looking at that as our backup. If the programs that we have don't work as well as we hope, we've kind of got that backstop that will count as our expenses.
What's the timeline to spend this funding?
Everything has to be spent by December 30th.
Okay, that's what I thought. Thank you.
Yep.
And then how do people find out about this?
So we are going to do a campaign that sends out the information to our customers that have a past due balance. It says, hey, text this number or text this word to this number, and then that will send them a link back that goes to the page to apply.
And what about someone who doesn't have a smartphone?
I think at some point we will end up putting it on our website and stuff like that. We just were trying to focus more closely on those that need it than just blasting it out and saying, hey, anybody and everybody, there's this program that's out there.
Okay. I just mentioned that because working with computers and our population, we have a lot of older folks that don't have smartphones.
And I'm going to let you know that the finance department is aware of it, and so they're going to also help direct customers where to go to do that.
Okay. Very good. Any other
So
questions?
Matt, yeah, I have a, Matt, that doesn't work for CPI or Pacific Power?
No, it will work for CPI and Pacific Power as well as natural gas.
All right.
The one last question, sorry. So this program, is it limited to, so it's Central Willamette, obviously in several locations. It's limited to City of Lebanon residents based on the grant, right?
Correct. So they have to be someone who resides within the City of Lebanon.
Okay, thank you. That was my last one. Promise.
Ask as many as you need.
Anything else? Okay, seeing none, I'll have the city attorney read the resolution number. Title.
Resolution number 2020-20, a resolution accepting a grant and increasing the budget appropriations to the City of Lebanon 2020-21 budget.
Move
To
for
approve.
approval.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve resolution 2020-20. All those in favor say aye.
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 Those opposed? Their resolution is passed. Thank you, Matt.
Yep.
And last up, we have city manager's report, Nancy Brewer.
Hello, good evening. I'm going to try and run through this fast because I know we want to be done by 6:42. So just a couple of highlights. First, the SDC update process is starting. There's a note in Kelly's report, in the written report, but just to highlight that for you, Kelly and Ron will be working on that. They're working with some community members to help work on SDCs. Second, we were contacted by OSU to participate in the COVID sewage testing project. We have respectfully declined at the present time with everything going on at the wastewater treatment plant. It was adding a not insignificant workload, and we felt like we needed to get things a little bit more under control there. We kind of feel like this will get added by OHA at some point and we'll be mandated to do it, but for now, we just need to focus on getting things there working correctly. So we stepped out of that one. We did extend the emergency declaration to January 2nd following the governor's order. Kelly and Alicia are working on potentially getting up to 16 pallets of PPE for distribution to businesses from the state. We've been working with the maintenance shops to find a location we can store it. We're working with the chamber and downtown Lebanon Association to get some distribution channels out for businesses. These are masks, gloves, hand sanitizer, wipes, all kinds of things. So hoping to work that through the process. And then we are looking to apply for a Business Oregon CDBG grant that would let us buy iPads and hotspots that the senior center could use to loan out to people for things like telemedicine visits or enrolling in Medicare, which is all online. And if you don't have a computer, that gets really hard to do. So trying to get some things put together there for the community. My last highlight, y'all probably don't know this, but we do have elves that work for the city. They are working on what we're gonna try and get rolled out in terms of holiday lights at Ralston Park. It's going to be different. There will not be the big turn on because we really need this to be a drive-by event for opening night, but the police department is working on trying to channel traffic that would go in the right lane of Park to kind of slowly drive by Park, turn onto Maple, turn onto Grove, and then probably head down the street to exit. My understanding is to go by somebody's house who might have a decoration set up in their front yard, but I'm not going to name any names, Mayor. We are going to encourage people. We're going to have live streaming video, so if you don't feel comfortable being out of the house that first night, you can watch online, watch the parade begin. The lights will be there the whole month, so we will encourage people to come back other nights. Be able to park your car, have a lovely dinner downtown, and then stroll through the park physically distant, masked, washing your hands every 5 seconds, but trying to do this in a very, very safe way, but still recognize we all need that spirit and that happiness in the community. So that plan is underway. There will be more information coming out about how that's going to work, how we can get that laid out with the community. But I wanted to let you all know the plans are cooking. And with that, I'll answer any questions you have. That's awesome.
So how was your first, almost month? How are things going?
Great.
Awesome.
It is, this is a great organization, really good people to work with. I'm having a good time. So thank you.
Good. Thank you. We're really glad to have you.
Yeah.
Okay, next up, items from council. I've got a couple different things I want to mention here. Congratulations to Councilor Grizzle. Congratulations to Councilor Bolin. And congratulations to Wayne Dykstra, who will be joining us on council in January. And I also want to give a shout out to County Commissioner Sherry Springer. She is going to be our new county commissioner. Our state representative, Jamie Kate, and our state senator, Fred Girard. And also, I just want to throw out a hi and thank you, or not even a thank you, but a shout out to Albany Mayor Alex Johnson, who is now going to be the mayor of Albany, our sister city or our neighbor city. So lots of exciting things, and we appreciate the voting process in our community and how everything went. It was very, very smooth, typical. And Lynn County, can't think of the person's name, the Druckenmiller. Their office is just fantastic, and they do a very, very good job with their mail-in ballots, and so it's been really good. So that's where we're at. We got the election. We have no idea on the national level, but at least locally, we're pretty set here.
Mr. Mayor, didn't you have a tight race as well?
Yeah, and congratulations to you.
Oh, thank you. It was. I was sweating it. Yeah, it was a little close. When you run against yourself, it's difficult.
I did notice that Jason had double the amount of write-ins than Rebecca for his position. So maybe it was a little tight there.
Thank
I
you
saw that.
so much for mentioning that, because
You're welcome.
I noticed that too. I had 39 write-ins and he had like 88. That's a lot.
Yeah.
People are fans. I also had way more votes than you, so that was good too.
Any other council comments? Do we have any press on here? Les or anybody? Okay.
We do not.
Okay. Seeing none, next scheduled meeting, December 9th, 2020 at 6 p.m. And we will be adjourned at 6:38.
Wow.